So now that you can store the data the user sent via post requests, let's make sure that they are sending the right data, the data we asked them. This is called validation and is a must-do if you're working with user inputs. You should never trust the users to send the right information. So there are many validation middlewares for Express. One of them called Joy, and is very popular. It has over $1 million per week. This Joy is part of the Happy.js, the framework for Node as well. So you can grab some API reference in here later. Here's an example on how to use. We're going to create a function inside our model. So first, let's install Joy. npm install Joy. Okay, now we just need to import it. Here, I'm using capital J because Joy is a class method. So just below, all the way down in our model, after we export the user, let's create and export a function that's going to validate the user data. So export function. So here we take the data, which will be the request.body. So inside this function, if you take a look at the Joy example, it creates a schema with the model data, the model field, and then you can call your validation inside in it. So let's do that in here. Let's create a const for schema. So it's joy.object.keys. This is to pick up each of the objects inside our model. So let's do email joy.string first. And here we just chain all the validations we need. We know that we need an email. Now we can do password joy.string. It's also required. And let's add one called minimal length. So 6. Remember, we already put 6 over here as minimal length. And this will serve as a second layer of protection for our data. So after you create your schema, we just need to pass it to Joy. So return joy.validate. And here it takes the data and the schema. So the data will come from the input in our controller. And then the schema is this one here. So let's call this validate function inside our controller. Create function, create user. We're going to use the validate user. So here in the try, let's first create a variable that is gonna extract the errors from this information we're passing here through the request.body. So now we can check if there is an error. We'll do something with it. So return response.status. We're gonna add the 400 as an error, and then we can send the information. Let's first send the error so we can see how is the object. In my terminal, I'm gonna start my server. First I need MongoDB on. npm start. So here I'm just gonna send an empty post request to sign up. So HTTP post 8080 sign up. So we are not getting any error over here. is because we are using the function, but we're not importing it from the model. So we need to add it over here. And now if you run it again, there you go, you have this object with the error message. If you remove this joy error, validation error, and we try it again, we're gonna get this big long validation error here, and this comes from MongoDB. But to work with MongoDB, it is a little bit harder to customize the error message. You're gonna have to create a lot of boilerplate. I'm gonna show you now how to customize the message with joy, and you see how easy it is. So I'm gonna bring back the validation from joy, and here again I'm gonna try it out. So we need to get this message over here. So error.details, which is the details over here. Let's try it out. So now we have this array. On array, you need to iterate through the items inside, so you can get the message over here. So that's the first item. And then we can call dot message. So when you do that, we have our message over here. But now to customize it, we don't really have an option to customize the error message itself. But Joy gives us a method called label, which you can chain into our model over here. So here in the email, I'm going to add dot label, and here you can pass a message. As you can see, the label that you're passing over here is meant to be the label over here. If you run now, there you go, you see? So to change this, we need to go back to our validation error message over here. And I'm just gonna remove this, and I'm gonna console log the detail again. And here, now we have this context, the key is email, and here you have the label. So we just need to console log the context.label instead of the message. So here just do context.label. Now if I do it again, there you go, we get our actual label from the model over here. So let's add it to the email. And the email, what can go wrong is the minimum length over here. So let's add a message that says password's too short. Now I'm gonna run it again, but now I'm gonna pass an email. And the password, I'm just gonna put 123. And now there you go, password is too short. So now we have our validation with custom message. Here on the Joy NPM page, there are some examples over here, and also the API reference. Here in the API reference, there are all the data types with the methods that you can call on them. And then if you click on them, you can find some more information on what they do. So now let's commit save our validation to Git. So git status, git commit with a message. Validate user input. I'm just gonna push it to the repository as well.